Sheila, stop! I protested as my sister dragged me to the bathroom. She shushed me and told me if I didn't want violence, I should comply with her. I sighed in frustration. Sheila was my twin sister, and we were alike in everything other than our personalities. Sheila was bold and daring. She was never shy or scared to speak what was on her mind. I, on the other hand, was more cautious and conservative than she was. Sheila was studying fashion while I was studying psychology. It didn't matter that we had different majors because we were in the same university. Our friends sometimes confused us for each other. I stayed silent as Sheila curled my hair to look like hers. Her plan was the infamous twin snitch. The last time we did it was in 3rd grade. Now I would live a day in her life and she would live in mine too. She straightened her hair already, and when she was done with me, she sighed in contentment, saying that I looked gorgeous. I couldn't even argue with her if I wanted to. I was the type to take anything she threw at me. My calm attitude betrayed me in situations like when I need to talk. Besides, it couldn't be that bad. The last one we did in 3rd grade almost put us in trouble. Put me in trouble. But we got around it, and we could probably do the same this time too. When she was done with styling me and dressing me in rather short clothes that felt very uncomfortable and almost resulted in a fight, I just gave in and left the room for classes. The twin switch also meant that I had to attend her classes for the day, and she had to attend mine, which was probably going to be the hardest part because her friends were always unnecessarily proud and loud, while my friends were just bookworms that Sheila was definitely going to have a hard time getting familiar with as well. As I stepped out of the hostel, I noticed someone in a black hoodie and glasses who stood by the entrance. It was weird to see a guy in the girls' hostel that early, but it was none of my business. He could be here to see his sister, or to collect something from someone. I kept walking to class, which was also a weird behavior for Sheila. She was not an early bird, and going to class early was not her thing, but I was also not the type to stay in the room till late in the morning. Everyone knew Amelia as a good student, and even if I was going to be Sheila for a day, I wanted to keep my good records the way it was. Sheila didn't tell me the reason for the twin switch, but I just took it as one of the days she wanted to have fun, and I had no choice but to follow the idea. Sheila ended up doing crazy things and dragging me to it every single time. I couldn't count the number of times I took the blame for her. I noticed that the guy I saw earlier was behind me, but this time he was on his phone. He was probably a student of fashion class as well, and I didn't recognize him because I didn't know Sheila's classmates so well. Thinking about it again, was he waiting for me when I saw him earlier? Would have been weird for him not to say anything to him when he saw me. Whatever, it wasn't my business. I sat down quietly in class, and the mysterious guy sat beside me. I was right, he was also a student of the class. He dropped his bag on the chair. "Hi," he said. I raised my head to see his face turn to me. "Hi," I replied before facing my books that were on the table. "Psychology and fashion class?" the guy asked, which made me realize that I forgot to pick up Sheila's textbooks and give her mine. "Yeah, just a fan of psychology," I had to give him a reply. "Just like I'm a fan of your page on OnlyFans," he said. Quite confused at what he was talking about, I asked, "I don't understand what you're talking about. What page? What's OnlyFans?" I love the pretense. I knew you were not going to admit it, and I know it's been a while since you posted pictures. Have you changed? I know about girls like you, fake bitches. I promise to make your life a living hell and mess you up, he said, and my mouth opened in shock. Before I had the chance to ask for any explanation, he took his bag and he left, leaving me confused. I pushed it to the back of my mind, hoping to ask Sheila about it since it was her class, she could understand it better. The classes went by quickly, and as much as I tried to forget the incident with the guy earlier, I couldn't. It kept playing in my mind over and over again. I was almost out of the class when a hand pulled me by the neck of my shirt. I straightened my posture, and I looked back to see the same guy from earlier, still dressed in his black outfit with his glasses. He grabbed my arm and tightened his grip on it. I yelped, and then he laughed before releasing me. After a long day, I walked into the room to see Sheila in tears and curled up on her bed. When she noticed my presence, she straightened up herself and cleaned her eyes, but not before I could notice it. "Amelia, you're back! How was today? Had fun being me?" She put up her usual bold, confident self, but I could easily see through it. I asked her why she was crying, and she dissolved into tears. She told me that she had opened an OnlyFans account due to the pressure from her friends and because of the money. She got comfortable with posting nudes of herself and other content while being paid through her fans. When she explained the whole thing, I understood it. The same guy who threatened me today had been threatening her for a while now. I got furious and marched out of the room. I knew his room and I would make him pay. As I walked to the boys' dorm, I saw him walking out and quickly hid myself before following him. I knew what I had to do. If anyone was hurting my sister, I'd take care of it by making sure they no longer breathed.
I walked into my apartment after a long day at work. I was pretty excited to go for tonight's get-together with my close friends. It was a perfect opportunity to unwind from the whole week's stress. I sat on my couch and opened my email app to see that I had multiple notifications from my OnlyFans account. The women loved me, I laughed. Logging into my account, I saw that the video I posted last night had a lot of engagement. My OnlyFans was loved by both male and female subscribers. I checked the messages and saw so many women fawning all over me. There was a message that said, "Love your six-packs," while one other said, "We're looking for you, sweetheart." I scrolled back up and went through my pictures. I had a chiseled torso with rock-hard abs, strong muscles, and tattoos on my shoulder and stomach. I watched myself move to Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye playing in the background. No wonder people loved me. I looked really good. I stood up and walked to my bedroom, wondering what I should do next for my subscribers. I shrugged as I walked into the room. An idea would come later. As I drove to a nearby bar to meet my friends, the thought of going full-time on OnlyFans crossed my mind. Why not? I said to myself. After all, I was becoming popular day by day. "Hey Kane, I'm glad you could make it," George said while giving me a high five. "I'm glad I could make it too," I smiled. "Where is Sam?" "Holding to our regular place," George said. "Hey bro," Sam called out to me as we reached the table. We all began to catch up with all we've missed. As the night went on, we kept doing our own thing. Looking around, I noticed two ladies staring at me intently, and I quickly moved my eyes away from them. Unable to shake off the feeling of being watched, I looked towards them again and saw them still staring at me intently while whispering. One of them finally noticed I was looking and smiled. I smiled back awkwardly and looked away. That was creepy. I resumed my conversation with Sam and George. I made sure not to get too drunk. I checked the time and saw that it was pretty late. I bid farewell to the guys and stood up to head out. I looked behind me to see the girls heading out too. Ignoring it, I got to my car and drove away. As I was about to drive into my garage, a car drove past me, and I saw one of the girls driving the car. I was right. Something was fishy. Those girls were stalking me. I had no idea why. Waking up to the sound of my alarm, I yawned, tired after last night's party. Another day at that terrible 9-to-5 workplace, I sighed. I didn't really like my job, but it paid the bills, so I had to put up with it. I tried to cheer myself up and walked into the bathroom to start my monotonous day. I walked into the office and said hi to Bailey as I walked past her cubicle. She was the secretary, but before I could leave, she called me back. "Kane, you have visitors," she said. "What visitors?" I asked, confused. "Two women came this morning asking for you. I told them to wait in the cafeteria." I headed towards the cafeteria. My face paled as I recognized one of them as the women who were stalking me. They smiled and waved at me. I really didn't know what to do. I simply wanted to run away from there. However, I sensed that it was my office place and things could escalate if I don't handle this situation maturely. The women told me that they simply loved me and wanted a private get-together with me. I told them that I was not interested and they could place their requests on my OnlyFans. "No one says no to us, sweetheart. You will do as we say," said one of them, smilingly. Excuse me? "Do you want a scene here? Isn't this the place you work at?" said the other girl. Scared, I agreed to their demand. They told me to get ready in the evening and would drop a message with the location. "Do bring your A game, champ." I returned home from work and sank into my couch. Those women knew where I lived, where I worked. If I don't go today, God knows what they will do, I thought. As I entered the hotel room, I saw that the girls were holding glasses of wine and were laughing. I was visibly nervous. Before I proceeded with the show, I asked them why they were doing all this. They laughed and told me that this was nothing new for them, but I was probably the most ripped they had until now. I then asked them whether they would stop bothering me after that night. To this, the girls let out a loud, sadistic laugh. They were totally having a good time. I excused myself to the washroom on the pretense of freshening up for the show. In reality, I was simply buying myself some time. As I waited inside, I could hear commotion outside. I opened the door just wide enough to let myself take a peek and heaved a sigh of relief. There they were, standing at the main door, 2 cops and my friend George. The girls were left completely shocked. They tried to portray themselves as innocent, but I had the complete recording on my phone. Earlier that evening, I had called up George and narrated him everything. He then told me to calm down and make conversation in the hotel room while keeping the phone recorder on. He told me not to worry and he would take care of the rest. The next day, George and I submitted the recording to the cops. Thankfully, I have never seen or heard from that troublemaker duo since then. Things are much different now than they were when I was younger or in my early 20s. You have access to anything at any time with just one click. And I'm not talking about information. I'm referring to something more. How do I say this? Regarding physical pleasures. I'm in my early 50s. I'm well past my prime, and as I look back at my pictures from when I was young and see girls I used to hang out with, I feel sad. My wife left me about 10 years ago for a younger, more successful man, and I was left here, alone in my small apartment, without even a phone call from someone to ask me if I was all right. One night, as I was on my phone, I decided to do something that was considered weird from my point of view. I clicked on the App Store and downloaded Instagram. I needed some socializing, and I didn't think I did anything wrong. I created a profile and added some pictures of me, and then I started to follow suggested people. I followed about 5,000 people over the course of the next couple of days, and I felt, well, a little less lonely in my small apartment. I started liking photos, and I could see how other people lived. They were happy with their families, or on vacations, living the life of their dreams. They all had such bright smiles on their faces, but me, well, I was in my own bubble, separate from people, and it felt like for me, time was standing still. As I was scrolling, one girl caught my eye. She was the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. She had gorgeous hair and piercing blue eyes, and she posted a picture of herself at the beach somewhere. I started to look at her profile, and by the landscapes behind her, I figured out that she was in the same town as I was. So, without even thinking about it, I messaged her. I introduced myself as it was the gentlemanly thing to do, and I asked her how she was doing. I waited around hours for a reply, but nothing. I thought that she didn't see my message, but later, I saw that she posted another photo. So she was active on Instagram, but she didn't want to reply to me. I felt a little hurt. Why wouldn't she want to talk to me? Anyway, I kept looking through her profile and I saw that she had a link in her bio, so I clicked on it. To my surprise, it took me to another site called OnlyFans. I didn't know what this site was, but after some digging around, I found out what kind of content I could find there. My eyes lit up, but it all felt wrong. It felt like I was on some dirty site or something, so I closed it. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what kind of content can that girl have on there. So at around 2 a.m., I opened my laptop and I paid for her subscription. It was $7 a month, but that's when it all started. I started paying for her photos and videos. that ranged from $5 to $10, and I wasn't thinking about the money at all. I didn't care. The more I saw her, the more I fell in love with her. It was like she was a movie star. That look that she had with her bewitching blue eyes really made my knees feel weak. It was official. I was totally and irrevocably in love with that girl. Her name was Megan, and she was the most beautiful creature that I had ever laid eyes on. On several occasions, I even paid for something special. I messaged her and asked her if she could do something in her videos. I won't say what while saying her name, and she agreed to do it. I began falling more in love with her. The way she was saying my name and the look she had on her face made me blow a substantial amount of life savings on her OnlyFans, but I already bought every picture and video available. As days went on, I kept thinking about her. Those digital portraits of her started to get a little dull. Like an addict, I started to crave for more. I wanted more. Not just things on my screen. I wanted to see her in person. Through a little digging, which was easier than I thought because the town wasn't so big, I managed to find out where she lived. I know, it's unethical to do, but I had to. This girl meant everything to me, even though she didn't know I even existed. One day, I followed her and saw that she had a normal job. She worked night shifts at a motel, so I got the bright idea to maybe rent a room in there and maybe spark a conversation so I can make her fall in love with me. I knew that she was the one for me and that we were destined to be together. I got into my car, arrived at the motel, entered through the front door, and as I saw her at the front desk, I dropped my bag. She was incredible. As I was just sitting there, I saw that a man approached her desk. I didn't like that. I spanned out of daydreaming and started getting angry. I marched towards them and I told the guy in a threatening and aggressive voice that I got there first. The man backed off, and then I turned around towards her. She looked a little confused about that little scene, but I knew that she was going to like me eventually. After some small talk, she gave me the key to my room and I went there to get settled in. In my bag, I had different sex toys. I saw that she loved them when I bought videos of her on OnlyFans, so I decided to bring some over. I had a plan. I needed to get her into my room, and when she'll see the toys, she'll get in the mood. Later that night, I went downstairs in my pajamas and I told her politely if she could come to my room because my AC wasn't working. I didn't know how to turn it on, and it was really hot. With a large smile on her face, she said she would help me, so we both went upstairs. She went in the room first, and as I was behind her, I closed the door and locked it. She then saw the toys on the bed, all lined up. "I know you like them," I told her while smiling. The girl was confused. She turned around and asked me what the hell do I think I'm doing. I proceeded to tell her about her OnlyFans and that I am her biggest fan. I knew she liked toys, and that's why I brought them. She was uncomfortable and tried to leave the room, but I stood there in front of her. I tried to calm her down, but she started to act violent and she slapped me. That's the moment when I snapped. I slapped her back and she fell on the bed. I got on top of her and I held her arms while I explained that we were meant to be together. I loved her and she will eventually love me. The girl screamed, and all of a sudden, I could hear someone knocking on the door. It was one of the guys who worked there. I told Megan to shut up, but she was screaming even louder, so the guy unlocked the door. He had a key. Then, he saw me on top of his colleague, so he pushed me off. He then punched me a couple of times, while I was still focused on Megan, asking her why she wouldn't love me. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. The guy pinned me down before throwing me out of the motel. He said that if I would ever go near her, he would kill me. The next thing I knew was that Megan deleted her Instagram and OnlyFans, and even quit her job at the motel. Even though it was a small town, I never saw her ever again. I got home and went to the room, tired after a long day. My girlfriend Kara walked up to me and kissed me. She was home early today. "How are you?" I asked. "How was work?" She shrugged. "The same old boring stuff, you know." I pecked her on her forehead and reminded her it is only a matter of time before she stops working. Soon, I will make enough for both of us. It is a good thing I enjoy my job, I thought to myself. I couldn't imagine being cooped up in an office for 7 hours and not enjoying it. I headed into the shower and heard Kara rustling about downstairs. She had prepared dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, and it smelled delightful. "Clark, I'm opening an OnlyFans account," Kara said, glancing back at me as I entered the dining area. I sat beside her and asked her why. She told me it was because she needs something to keep her entertained. She said her colleagues told her about it, and it seemed fun. I told her to go ahead as I dug into the spaghetti and enjoyed my meal. Throughout the meal, Kara didn't even bother to look at me. She was so engrossed in whatever she was typing on her laptop, but at least she was smiling. She always mentioned that she hated her job, and she was sure that if not for the pay, she would have quit a long time ago. I was glad that she was doing something she enjoyed. She looked relaxed, as opposed to how she usually looked when she came back from work. We both have corporate jobs with good pays. We've been living together for about 5 months now. Everyone talks about how much in love we are. It was nighttime, and Kara was still typing on a laptop. I told her to come to bed. She barely looked at me before she shook her head in the negative. She told me to go to bed without her. I kissed her and went to sleep in order to get well rested for the next day. My alarm woke me up, and I turned over to see Kara beside me. I kissed her forehead, and she stirred. She smiled as her eyes fluttered open. "How are you? You're looking extra cherry this morning. I wonder what happened over the night." She giggled. "Nothing. I'm just having a lot of fun with my account. It's nice. I get to connect a lot with people, and it's been a while since I felt entertained." I pecked her cheek and stood to get ready for work and told her I will make toast for her. I was ready for work, and Kara wasn't out yet. I called for her, but she didn't respond. I went upstairs to check her, thinking she was in the shower. I saw Kara still in bed, typing furiously on the laptop, and reminded her that she would be late for work. I came back home to meet Kara in bed. She barely mumbled a hello to me before getting distracted by her laptop. It has been a week since she got her account, and all she does is stay on her laptop. I confronted her about it, but she told me I was being ridiculous. She told me she loved only me. I got angry as I ate dinner alone. I wondered what she was doing exactly. I took my laptop downstairs and fired it up. I went to OnlyFans and browsed and checked Kara's account. My eyes widened as I took in her different pictures. She had taken a lot of pictures. Most of them were very seductive. Blood rushed to my head, and I felt lightheaded as I continued to see her in different poses and clothes. I decided not to tell her anything and just went to bed instead. The next day at work, I continued to go through Kara's page and hardly got any work done. I noticed that a rash had formed on my hands and I scratched it absent-mindedly. I didn't know why I still didn't tell Kara that I could see what she had been up to. I kept having headaches that even painkillers did nothing to cure. And just yesterday, I discovered that my back was fully covered with pimples. I couldn't understand why I was having physical reactions to the emotional pain I felt. I went to bed knowing I wouldn't get any sleep. I'd been having trouble sleeping since I started following Kara's account. I couldn't eat well also. I felt so miserable. The next day was a Friday, and I got back from work feeling exhausted. "Kara, I'm home," I called out and got no response. I wondered where she could be. I was on my laptop, solemnly going through Kara's page again. The page refreshed itself, showing there was a new post. That's weird. She only posts when she's home, I thought. I froze as the video played. She was held in chains, tied up and gagged in a dark room that looked like a sex room like the one from 50 Shades of Grey. She definitely hasn't carried this to a higher level, has she? Shutting the laptop closed, I began to panic as I thought of the fact that Kara could be cheating on me. I shouldn't have agreed, I thought as tears rolled down my face. I felt shattered. I heard my phone ping as I stood up to drown myself in alcohol. I picked it up and saw a message from my friend Pete. Check your girl's OnlyFans account. She has been kidnapped. What? Kidnapped? I don't understand. I panicked as I rushed back to unlock my laptop and watched the video. I saw tears rolling down Kara's face as she struggled to get free. Most of you might think this is a new level to Kara's videos. You thought wrong. He started as he walked to the front of the camera. He was masked. You know what? I was one of you, a subscriber. Then I decided I had enough of the teasing and I should have her all to myself. I sent this bitch a message, but she declined and blocked me, he said angrily and slapped her. I flinched and my jaws tightened. How dare he slap my girl like that? It's been 2 hours now, and the only thing I demanded was a private live show. But she denied. Don't you think this bitch should be punished, guys? I will kill this son of a bitch with my bare hands. Well, to the main business now, the final stage of her punishment. He brought out a shiny knife and went behind her. Say goodbye to your fans, baby, he said as he removed the gag from her mouth. Please, just let me. She began to gasp for air as he cut her throat at one slice. I watched as blood spluttered out the neck of the girl I loved as she struggled and gasped for air. The police, they did manage to get a hold of that man eventually. He was sentenced for life. It's been 2 years since that incident. Thinking of that day still gives me chills and nightmares. Love. It's the most amazing feeling someone would ever experience in their lifetime. But it's only amazing when it comes from both partners. If one of them loves the other and the other doesn't give a damn about his partner, well, things take a bad turn sooner or later. There I was, 21, young, hopeful, beautiful, if I may say so myself, and ready to meet the love of my life. I was going through a period in my life that made me very vulnerable. I was living with a friend of mine. She was very popular and had lots of other friends. Each week, she would be invited to a party at least. She would always ask me to go with her in the past, but I would always say no. During that time, I was in a long-term relationship with a guy. We've been dating for about 2 years and things were getting serious. Well, at least that's what I thought. I was ready to spend the rest of my life with him, but as it turns out, he had other plans. One day, I found out that he cheated on me. Not once, not 2 times, but over 10 times. My heart was broken and I decided to split up with him. He didn't seem to mind at all, but I fell into a small depression. My friend and roommate, seeing that I was going through such a tough time, literally had to beg me to go to a party with her, and finally, I said yes. Okay, I'll go. I mean, I'm a catch, right? Why shouldn't I go and have some fun? I told her. Absolutely, girl. There are going to be so many hot guys there, and they're all going to hit on you, she told me. Normally, the idea of some guys at a party hitting on me would disgust me, but in that moment, like I said before, I was going through a phase. I wanted to have fun, and I wanted attention. There's nothing wrong with that. So I dressed up, did my makeup, and there I was. Before I knew it, I was in the middle of that party. The music was loud. Everyone was having fun, and slowly but surely, I started to have fun also. After a couple of hours, I found myself with a guy talking. We were outside so that we could hear each other better. We had so many things in common. And slowly, I fell in love. We started dating for about a month after, and things couldn't have gone better. He was perfect. "I really like you, and I think there's really something here," he told me. As the words were coming out of his mouth, my knees began to weaken. "I feel the same way," I told him while looking into his eyes. "I think we should move in together, take the next step into our relationship," he said. I agreed. I couldn't believe it. I went from a toxic relationship to this amazing guy who wants to move in together so fast. In my experience, guys avoid commitment, but he was different. He got me in ways that no one ever did. Before we knew it, we were standing in the middle of our new apartment. There we were, happy as can be. We rented it out in a not-so-good part of town because that's all we could afford. Nevertheless, we didn't care. We were happy. Well, at least that's what I thought. Everything went amazing for the next couple of months. We would do everything together around the house. It was amazing to spend all my time with him, and he seemed happy also. But we had a problem. We didn't have a lot of money. I worked from home doing social media marketing, and he worked as a mechanic. But clients were not coming over as usual because of the bad economy. One evening, Michael announced that he had lost his job. He would always tell me that he'd look for something else, but I never saw him do it. One day, I came home from the grocery store. He didn't even help me with that giant bag. He just got up from the couch with his eyes still on his phone. As he approached the grocery bag, looking for some chips or something, I saw what he was looking at. "Are you looking at OnlyFans? What the hell, Michael? I'm out shopping and you're looking at other girls?" "Calm down. I'm still living with you, right? What are you bitching about?" he told me. I was shocked. He talked to me in that way. I asked for an apology, but he acted like he didn't hear me. Instead, he said this: "Why won't you make an OnlyFans, babe? You're pretty hot, and you'd make so much money for us," he told me. "Are you kidding me? I am the only one who brings money into this house, and now you also want me to make an OnlyFans? Why don't you just get a job instead of coming up with these ideas?" I told him, almost yelling as I was really angry. He told me to watch how I talked to him and told me to think about that idea. I was so angry that night that I slept on the couch. I couldn't stand to see his face. Over the next couple of days, he kept insisting more and more with his OnlyFans idea. I told him no, and he became visibly angry. One day, while telling him that he is stupid for always insisting with this idea, he grabbed me by the hair and threw me on the floor. "You will do as I say, you bitch," he told me, but I refused again. So he picked me up and slapped me over the face. I tried to hit him back, but he grabbed my hand. He then slapped me again and said, "I've had it with you." He then tied me to a chair and taped my mouth. Then he took the chair in the kitchen and told me the following: "You have until morning to think about this OnlyFans idea. I'm sick of you telling me that I am stupid. You will do it or you will die. The choice is yours." He then shut off the lights in the kitchen and went into the bedroom to sleep. I couldn't believe what was going on. It was like I was part of some prank or something. It all seemed surreal, but slowly I realized that this psycho was for real, and he was really going to kill me if I don't do it. I had to escape, but I didn't know how to. I was tied up, but then I saw a knife on the counter. I had to get it so that I could cut the rope. He fell asleep fast as I could hear him snore. This was my chance. I moved the chair little by little, but as soon as I was close to the knife, I fell on one side. Luckily, as I fell, I managed to bang my head against the counter. During the impact, the knife fell to the ground, well within my reach. I managed to cut my way out to freedom. The next thing I did was to call the cops and get out of the house, locking him inside with no way of getting out. They soon showed up, and upon seeing me in a badly beaten up shape, decided to take immediate action. Thankfully, I have never heard from Michael since then.